Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of Checkpoint Coffee with me, your host, Mooney. Now, Checkpoint Coffee is the local gaming podcast by Emmen Gaming where we talk about all kinds of topics related to games, gaming, and the games industry. Now, with me today are my fellow team members from the Emmen team, Mika and Ihum.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you guys for joining us. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, I'm doing really well.
Now, I hope you guys are ready for a bit of a conversation because we're going to be talking about that recently announced news that's been making headlines everywhere.
Oh,
We're
don't
going to be
worry.
talking about the PS5 Pro.
If you couldn't let me say the punchline, but okay. Yep, we're ready. I was about to say that we are pros in talking.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's funny. All
We
right,
have
so
been looking forward to this one for a long time.
now we're going to be talking about what we know so far, right? In terms of features and how the internet is reacting to all of this and what we think about all of this. So, with no further ado, let's jump in. So, I'm going to throw you guys a question, all right? Actually, I'm going to throw you guys two questions, but let's start with the first one. What was your initial reaction to hearing the announcement?
I'm gonna let you take this first one.
I thought you were going to go first, but never mind. For me, my first impression was, it was, wait, was your question about the entire presentation or the specification?
I was just give me whatever it is, like what was your first reaction to the announcement itself? That the PS5 Pro exists and this is what it's like.
Well, my first answer would be it was the duration of the entire presentation was very short than I expected. It was like, here's a summary of all of the specifications of the PS5 Pro, and there were no proper explanations for that. So that's why the duration part. But the things they were explained, I think it's going in the right direction. As in, what they said was very optimistic. So I'm hoping what they said will come true.
What about you, Mika?
Surprisingly, I think both Iham and I might be on the same page here, because my initial reaction to hearing, or rather seeing the announcement, was that it was a surprisingly short presentation. Because we're used to, like, during the PS4 Pro and the PS5 announcements, like, it was a very in-depth presentation. They were talking about specs, the reasons why they put in the hardware, what customers could look forward to. And what we got here was very much a marketing presentation. And that made me like really suspicious of everything.
Interesting. In my case, when I first heard the news, I was just thinking, okay, so we're getting the PS5 Pro. Like, has it been that long since it released the PS5? But then I saw the price point. But we'll get back to that. Let's talk about the next question, second question. What are your expectations? What were your expectations leading up to the announcement, leading up to that particular live stream? Before, I mean. Were you expecting this console to be announced or what?
I think we were, because there were so many leaks at this point that it all but confirmed with that one specific anniversary image that we were going to get a Pro. And my expectation is like really simple, and I think this is the same for a lot of gamers out there. And that's, we're going to get hardware that improves performance, because the PS5 is not quite all there with current gen games in a lot of cases.
For me, what I expected was it will be bigger equals more power. I mean, when it comes to size, but I think there isn't much of a size difference from the PS5 Pro version to the base model. But when you compare the PS4 Pro version to the base version, there's a big size difference. So, jokingly aside, I was actually following the leaks, not
I'll leave it to good old Iham to know the leaks before it happens.
I guess it is his history as a gacha gamer coming back in. These guys also very religiously follow leaks sometimes.
Yeah, for me, I just need to open Twitter and I just see leaks. It's just there. I'm not even looking at it. Well, anyways, leading up to the
Okay.
announcement, there were more leaks and more leaks and more leaks, and for me, I think the excitement went down, as in, I know it's coming, but I
Mm.
just want to know the specifications for it.
Mm.
And there was this one day where, if I remember correctly, Sony announced the graphic for the 30th anniversary one, and in there they hid the design of the PS5 Pro. And that day, I think it blew up because it actually was a very close match to the a leak.
Huh.
So everyone was expecting, this is how the Pro model will look like. And when it was shown, yeah, it was just that.
Okay, so not a lot of surprises there. And I'm glad you mentioned specs, all right, because that actually takes us to the next major topic that we'll be discussing in this episode. So, specs. Let's talk about what we know so far. I'm going to list out some of the information that we have, and then perhaps you guys can give me your thoughts on that, and we can have a little bit of a discussion. So, first thing is, we're getting an upgraded GPU, right? According to Sony, this is going to be a 67% more compute units, 28% faster memory, and 45% faster gameplay rendering enabled. Another thing that we'll be getting is ray tracing, right? It enables even more dynamic reflections and refractions of light. Rays can be cast at double, occasionally even triple, the speed of the base PS5 console, which does sound impressive on paper. Next, we have AI upscaling. It says that the PS5 Pro is going to be utilizing machine learning to sharpen images and increase clarity, right? Sony promises an extraordinary amount of detail. Now, this next one has my attention, right? I think it's something that some people might find quite interesting. PS5 Pro Game Boost applies to more than 8,500 backward compatible PS4 games playable on PS5 Pro and will boost performance levels and image quality. There is already a game boost feature on the regular PS5, so this is more of an enhancement rather than a wholly new addition, but it does sound impressive. Now, another thing to consider is that we'll be getting an SSD upgrade from 825 GB for the PS5 to 2 TBs, right? And in a day and age where game file sizes are growing bigger and bigger exponentially, Call of Duty, we do need every TB we can get, really. And according to some of the folks behind the unveiling, this is something that they've said. One of the core goals of the PS5 Pro is to prevent players from having to choose between a performance and a fidelity mode, which is currently common on many of the best PS5 games. Instead, they aim to give players the best of both worlds, it says here. So, I'm gonna throw a question to you guys. Like, what first of all, what do you think about all of this? What stands out to you the most?
First of all, let me just say that I'm very disappointed in you, Mooney,
Hmm?
because I was expecting, in the presentation, they started saying, "Here is the big three." So I was expecting you to say a joke regarding it, but it wasn't there.
No. This is me being fully professional because this is an informational podcast. I gotta come in with the reliable info.
Yeah, but looking at the announcements, what they what they revealed,
Hmm.
the GPU part, that I'm not that excited about, but the other two one was really good, as in the AI upscaling thing. I think it's called PSSR or PSVR. No,
PSSR.
yeah,
Or
PSSR.
yeah,
Hmm.
even there's another thing you can say to it, but let's not say it on this show.
All right, let's keep it family friendly. All right, you guys.
Yeah. So I think I saw a Twitter thread about this. I think what PSSR is doing is basically what NVIDIA DLSS is. It's becoming more and more harder for me to even say the name now.
DLSS.
Yes, DLSS. Yes, what DLSS is doing is the same thing as PSSS.
Yeah, it's pretty much PlayStation's own trademark upscaler.
I think in this entire presentation will go with me saying these names wrong as you as you.
Try your best.
I mean, I'm actually on with IM on this one. I was actually like when they revealed the upscaler, I was a bit hesitant too. But then later on, we got that video from Digital Foundry, and then at least on the upscaler part, it seems they've managed to hit that promise of providing better performance at a higher resolution, and that's really the whole gimmick, right? Like, you don't have to choose between graphics and fidelity anymore. You can get the graphics and the performance at the same time. And I know a lot of people on the internet are going to hate me for saying this, but I'm actually on board. I just want a more comprehensive review when it comes out before I decide on that interesting price point.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Looking at because the next major topic that we're going to be talking about is the price, right? But before we move on, let me throw my 2 cents in here as well, right? So one of the major positives for console gamings in theory is supposed to be that it is very plug and play, right? That you don't need to fiddle around with the back end of things as much as you do with PC gaming. So I'm hoping that by giving people games that are closer to the high fidelity that they're used to on other platforms such as PC, without sacrificing the performance, right? That actually is beneficial for console development, that we might actually see less of a gap between the two, right? Now, moving on from that, the price. Ooh, okay. USD 700. Or is it 699? But let's be real, that's just 700 with extra steps. How are we feeling?
Only what you said is wrong. It's actually $780. You forgot to mention the stand that comes separately.
Oh my goodness, really? Yeah, you're totally right. I actually just took the console's price to figure that like they would include this. I didn't think they would be audacious enough to sell that separately. Like, are they selling a hard drive separately as well? Like a disc tray? Like what else is separate now?
Yeah, I mean the disc tray is also separate.
I was
The PS5.
joking. Really?
Yes.
Terrible.
The PS5 Pro version is a digital based one, and they are separately selling the disc part separately.
Okay.
And I think last week it was Amazon's bestseller.
My goodness.
People are already stocking up for the inevitable Pro release.
Okay. So, generally speaking, across the internet, people are not happy with this price point. They've been memeing this thing to death. They are complaining about it. And I want to ask you guys, like, you guys are both players who do engage in console gaming from time to time. Like, what do you think about this? Like, how high is too high for a console? That's one question. And the second one is, does this price, like, is this justified?
Now, as the person who's on the other end of the argument, I think it's going to be like very dependent on the person whether you can justify dropping 700 on a console with all things, especially since right after the release of this information, we got all sorts of videos just coming out and saying, hey guys, look, we can make an equivalent PC to the same price that's sometimes better and sometimes worse than a PS5 Pro. And despite this, I might actually be on the other side of this. I might actually... Now, there's a difference here that I'm going to mention to our viewers. When we get consoles over here, it's actually extremely overpriced. Like, if you think 700 is bad, we'll likely be getting at least around, I'd say, an 80% markup of that price over here.
Don't remind me. Yeah, this is a problem that I do want to delve into a little bit as well. But you're right. When these consoles do reach where we live, because we are not one of the major trading hubs of the world or whatever, it's gonna have, come with a hefty import tax. It's gonna come with a markup for the shops that sell it to us as well. And we might be looking at significantly more than 700 USD, to be honest. And that's a little scary of a concept as well. And let's not even forget that vanilla version of this console is digital only, which means once again downloading a lot of data, and some of our internet connections might not exactly be able to handle that too.
Yep.
But is this perhaps a suggestion that the future of PlayStation is digital only?
They've definitely been moving towards that more over the years, I think. And
Mm.
there was even some controversy recently, right? A lot of people lost games from their Plus library because
Did they?
because they removed it from the catalog of Plus. So yeah, it's been a pretty interesting year for PlayStation in that regard.
That's actually quite terrible. You pay for the game and then you can't access it. I suppose it is a reminder to us that the digital storefronts that we buy games from, we don't really own them.
Yep. So despite this, if we can actually get it for 700, I am sold on their promise. Like the choosing between graphics and fidelity, I'm actually kind of sold on it. But there's still a part of me that's like very suspicious whether they can actually deliver on this big three. And that's why I'm like, okay, let's see what people who actually get the hardware and tinker with it, not seen it, and people who are just saying it very positively, just other YouTubers and people that we usually watch and trust to give us a fair review on the hardware before we're jumping in. And I'm sure this is going to be a very rare opinion on the internet right now.
So, what is the threshold here? Like, how good does it have to be for you to say, okay, this price is justified?
For me, it's that console dream of like just booting up a game and not wondering whether it's going to run good or bad. Like I'm currently playing Space Marines 2, and I can tell you that even on performance mode, that it's not holding up to that constant 60 FPS. Like there's some amazing set pieces that are set back because all of a sudden you're getting a lower frame rate, and I want to sit down and actually be able to enjoy my games, but I'm in a position to actually do that. So I understand it's a very personal decision.
So let's talk about the other end of this. Like, if a person, when I'm looking at some of the memes and stuff that I see online, it's kind of like, hey, you could buy a PS5 Pro, or you could buy this amount of like Nintendo 3DSs. You know, like the question that comes to my mind is this them testing out the waters? Is this them seeing just how high can we take those console prices? Because last time when PS5 came out, there was a problem with selling these consoles. Specifically, the problem being that, how do you say, scalpers. This is something I want to talk about. Yeah, they basically came in and bought a lot of the available consoles,
Stock.
right?
Yep.
Yes, stock. Yeah, that's the term I was looking for. And because of this, it caused the price to skyrocket online. So, like, do you think that these people are trying to make a lot of money, like, before, how do you say, they're trying to increase the amount of money they make before the scalpers get in? Or, like, do you think something else is going on here?
Honestly, I feel like this is more a consequence of right now PlayStation is just dominating the console market, and they're pulling in an apple on us. They're like testing the limits for which their fans will accept their brands. I don't feel like it's as nefarious as people feel with the scalper situation at all. What do you think, Ayam?
I feel like for the price, for the $700, this will be a very big experiment for them. As in, the sales record will show them exactly how many will buy them and whether if this is the right price, the highest price they could go for. Then for me, I feel like the $700 is way high for a console.
I am with you there, but go on.
At least when you compare to the base model, which is $500, or was it $400?
Well, it's definitely not 400 over here, that's for sure.
Don't remind me.
Yeah, but let's say it's $400. But for me, I just want to know if the newer specs that are in the Pro model, they better be worth those $200 gap. I think that's for me what's important. And when the price was announced, I just went and checked how the PS Pro price was, because that's the model that I first bought. And it turns out the PS4 Pro version was $399, and the base model, which I think when it was released, was also the same price. So I was wondering why actually they increased the price over the base model.
So you don't feel like this is an experiment by them to kind of get their buck from the scalpers, do you?
More or less, yeah. But the $700 is for the higher ups at Sony, for them to know what's the highest they could go for your console.
So I'm gonna approach this from the perspective that the price of a thing, ideally, and this is ideally, mind you, should be priced according to the utility of what this thing can bring to the person who buys it, right? So, like, if you're talking about, let's say, a microwave, if it's an expensive microwave, you expect it to have a few more features. Maybe it's a microwave oven, you know? Maybe it's a microwave that's also a dishwasher. I don't know. Like, so in this
Microwave
case,
with a screen that you can play Doom.
yeah, something like that, right? Something extra, like the extra money implies extra value, right? So I want to know what this is offering that is, in their opinion, worth this price that they are asking. And right now, it just seems like they're just trying to make a PC with extra steps, a worse PC with extra steps. No offense to any fans out there who are really desperately holding on for the PS5 Pro or anything. I'm not trying to ruin your dream here. But like everything this box can do, something that is cheaper and more reliable, and okay, maybe that's an opinion of mine. I'll retract that. More easy to get your hands on. Let's just say. I was gonna say more reliably obtainable, but I kind of cut myself off there. But anyway, more easy to obtain is able to do as well. A majority of the games that are coming out on the PS are also coming out uh, on the PC. But I suppose if you were in a region like the Maldives, you might have that PSN problem to deal with. But it just comes back to the question of, is it worth it? Are you really offering us something that is worth the price you are asking? And that is something that I am really scratching my head over, because I just cannot be sure. Like, I don't know whether, what was it again? 2 TBs of SSDs or 67% more compute units is really all that. It just seems like they're trying to chase down PC performance, and PC performance will always just keep getting better and better in a way that static consoles just cannot, if you know what I mean.
I feel like that's depending on the hardware. We might, considering we might be at a plateau for at least graphical fidelity. But I agree with you, despite the fact that I am okay with their promise. Even I still have my suspicions. And how do I put it? There's a certain mystique about the hardware specs of the Pro. Like, they have a completely new AMD chipset that nobody's ever seen on the market, for one thing. And even their AI set is completely unique to them, right? We don't know how their ray tracing model is working out either. It's all PlayStation branded or PlayStation unique features, and at least that's how they're trying to market it. And I think that's one of the reasons why people feel like there's value in this, because it's a PlayStation specific thing.
As in, just like how Nintendo has hardware that is specifically tailor-made for their console, they're also going the same route.
Yeah. Well, in Nintendo's case, the hardware itself is a very unique setup from every other console, right? We know the chipset in there. We know what's going on outside the hardware, but the combination of the Switch itself being portable with Joy-Cons, that's their unique selling point. And in this case, the PlayStation's, or at least what they're trying to do, is make all these new, the big three, their unique, like the unique selling point, like I just mentioned here.
For me, what I think is that the two of the three of the big three, which is the ray tracing and the PSSR. I'm actually very happy that I actually managed to say it correctly this time.
Nice work.
Okay, so I think these two are the ones that they are going for. I think, yeah, for like the major promise that they want to do was to close the gap between fidelity and performance. I mean, if their dream is, if what they are gonna say is correct, I think they are going to change the industry in a way, because right now fidelity versus performance is a big topic, and during their live stream I think they explained that 1/3 prefers performance over fidelity.
Yeah, wonder where they got that elixir from. Like, I know a lot of us prefer the performance over fidelity, but it's kind of weird they just mentioned it like they had a lot of data to back it up.
And the source is trust me, bro.
Yeah, and I do agree that one of the things they mentioned, the PSSR, they've definitely delivered on that promise, at least from that, I think 7-minute snip of FF7 Rebirth. Because the PSSR and the PS5 Pro version is actually delivering on that promise of better fidelity at higher performance.
What about AI upscaling though? Because the last time I heard about this particular technology, that was when, those GTA remakes were coming to PC, and that turned out to be a disaster, to say the least. A lot of typos here and there, a lot of weird pixels out of place and whatnot. Like, is it really sophisticated enough of technology now to be able to do this?
No, I mean, it's been doing that for a while, like with DLSS and everything. And like I mentioned before, the FF7 reboot clip that we got was actually the 7 native resolution upscaled with PSSR, and it looks a ton better and performs better. So we know it's working from that clip alone, but there's always this doubt in my mind, like, we need more data, we need more people to get our hands on this console before, like, even though I'm saying like, okay, yeah, I might buy this, I'm still like, I want to see more people review this console before I invest in that.
And I also would like to say that the people who do review it, I'd like them to be not necessarily sponsored by Sony. I'd like it to be independent opinions.
Agreed.
When you just said it, for me, I think I would like to see a non PlayStation exclusive game as one of the experiments, one of the benchmarks for this one.
So yeah, one thing that was problematic was that when they were talking about ray tracing, they were talking about Hogwarts Legacy, which is actually a UE4 title. We haven't seen any current UE5 titles or previews on this.
Oh, okay. They need to run Tekken 8 to show us what it's really about. All right. It is a Unreal Engine 5 game, in case anybody listening doesn't know.
We really need to see more reviews before anyone should really spend on this.
Yes. So I guess our recommendation is optimistic but cautious, right?
Definitely mine, but I feel like you two are more on the, I'm not gonna drop 700 quid on this at all group.
Well, I wasn't gonna get into the console market anyways, because I very recently managed to exit it and become a PC gamer myself. But I am very interested to see just how people do react to it, just what happens with the scalper issue, whether any steps will be taken to prevent that, and whether the console itself will deliver on some of the lofty promises it's making. Because I mean, if it is able to do what it says it can, we might get to see like a 60 FPS, really high fidelity version of Bloodborne, right?
Yeah, I get. This was one of the things I actually wanted to talk to you guys. If they had announced a new game, like if it was Bloodborne remake, during the PS5 Pro reaction. I feel like it would have blunted that 700 USD price. But the fact that they were showing us older games, and some of them
They
like
really
even
overestimated how much we want fidelity, I guess.
yep, again they even showed The Last of Us, which is PS4, right? If they'd shown a new game, a new exclusive, then I think it would have gone over a lot smoother.
Can I just take this moment to say that, like, I really don't think the world needs another remake of The Last of Us. How many of those have gone by now? Can we please stop already? Like, you can't just keep, showing us the same cake and telling us, hey, it's like 1 pixel better. I don't care anymore. Like, give me Bloodborne or give me nothing.
Yeah,
I'm joking, but
could you imagine the reaction if the Pro reveal had a Bloodborne remake? That would have been amazing.
my goodness, like the pillars of the world would be shaking. But they are not letting that particular golden goose out of the gander, right?
They're gonna keep it for that rainy day.
Yep, PS6, here we come. Now yeah, go on, I am.
For me, if there's a very, very big difference in performance from the base model and the Pro version, I think I would go for it. But if there's a slight or a very small, medium level one, I think I'm gonna stay with the PS5 and wait till PS6 releases.
See, one of the things that they haven't considered is that, especially for our market, a lot of us are still like HD gamers. We're doing the 1080p thing, or at least maybe 2K. But it's very rare for any of us to actually go for that 4K fidelity modes because we don't even use 4K TVs on our end. So
yeah, but then again, I suppose they are not really considering our market. Then I don't mean Maldives, I do mean Asia though. They're probably thinking of US, UK, right? Australia perhaps.
So that yeah, but regardless, the point is that if that's the case, there's still a lot of people out there for who it would not be worth it because you're gonna be playing on 1080p anyway, right?
Ah, that is very true. I didn't think of it from that perspective. What you're basically saying is, no matter how powerful the console is, if your TV or monitor can't keep up, what's the point?
Yep, exactly.
What I feel is, wouldn't that apply mostly for monitors? As in, if TVs are going to get involved, I think most modern TVs, I think it has basically have 4K right now.
Hey, also, I do want to add, you guys, you'll never guess who also happens to sell TVs. It's Sony.
Now, Sony actually has their own line of monitors that's tailor-made for the PS5, in case you guys didn't know.
Ah, there we go. This is what's really going on. This is their trick, you see. They get you with the console, and then they sell you the monitor. Then they sell you the joystick. Then they sell you the hard drive and the freaking disk drive and the pencil and the Sony hat and sneakers and the water bottle. And before you know it, you're bankrupt.
Well, I know you're kind of joking, but there's actually some truth to this. See, what they do is they try to get you into the console ecosystem, and most of the time they actually sell these consoles at a loss. But once you're locked into the system, you're playing for Plus, you're playing for controllers, you're paying for charging cables or whatever. You're paying for the PSVR. So yeah, that's how they get you.
I was joking, but I didn't know that they actually were following my jokey plan. Okay.
It's commonly accepted that controllers and everything else is a lot higher priced than their consoles, which they have traditionally in the past sold at a loss.
So these guys have learned a thing or two from Apple. Apple is also known for slowly dragging people into their ecosystem through convenience. Now, you guys, I feel like we've really attacked this particular topic from every possible angle. We've discussed it a lot and given our opinions on it, and I think the conversation has run its natural course. Thank you so much to the audience. Yeah.
But I have a question to ask you, Moni. I think Mika has already answered this question during his explanation. Are you a performance or a fidelity person?
Well, that's actually a really interesting question because up until very recently, it has always been performance for me because I never really got to experience high fidelity graphics in the highest fidelity that is currently possible, right? But very recently, as I switched over to PC and upgraded it to a level where it can play games in a very high level, now I am starting to see why it matters. So I used to be completely performance. I used to be the person who would die on the hill that says, "Oh, art style over graphics any day, y'all." But now I'm starting to see, okay, there is a reason why a whole generation of people worked super hard to try to make games look better. Like there's a purpose to this. It wasn't just, showing off, that there is actual beauty to be found here. So I'm gonna say, unsatisfying as it may be, I kind of fall in the middle. I have recently learned the value of fidelity.
In my defense, I'm actually majorly performance. It's just it depends on the game I'm playing. Like a game like Hogwarts Legacy, I prefer it on fidelity because the immersion that I get from running around the castle with all the reflections, with all the pretty reflections and the shadows and the ambient occlusion, I just can't top it.
Okay, fair enough.
For me, I was also a performance guy, and then came the balance mode, which actually changed how my perspective on this. For me, right now, uh, if if the fidelity has the right amount of smoothness for me, I don't mind playing in fidelity because I don't remember a game. I don't remember the name of the game, but recently I played a very high action game in fidelity mode just because
Stellar Blade?
the fidelity. No, Stellar Blade I played in balance mode. I think it was a game from last year. I just don't remember the name. All I remember is that I chose the fidelity mode because it looks good and the frame rate was just the right for me. So moving on, I feel like I'm gonna choose the balance mode or the fidelity mode depending on the depending on how smoothness the game is for me.
Fair enough. I feel like games need actually the more middle ground 45 FPS mode more now. Anyhow, I think we talked about this quite at length. What say you, Mooney?
Yes, I think it's actually run to the conversations run to its natural course this time for reals. Now, I wanted to say thank you, dear audience, for joining us for this episode as well. We hope this one was interesting and informative to you as well, and we hope to hear what you guys think about this PS5 Pro, and whether you are interested in getting it. What are your opinions on the price point? And whether you think that this implies the existence of the PS5 Amateur. Just kidding. Anyway, thank you both for joining me today to give your insights on this, because I could not have imagined two people who are better suited for this than you both. You both are active PS gamers after all. Now, I want to say to the audience, please make sure to subscribe to our social media platforms on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and we also have a TikTok for the latest updates on all things Emmen Gaming. Now, watch our videos on YouTube and join our streams on Twitch. The details for all these platforms are in the description below. See you next time, and guests, thank you once again.
All right. Good night.
All right.
Have a
Bye.
pro day. All right, that was just bad.
Bye-bye.